Nathaniel here, and welcome back to our bi-weekly report. I hope everyone had a great holiday season and a happy New Year celebration. The new year always encourages us to adapt, improve, and plan for the future, and here at Tank Encyclopedia it will be no different. As Lucian mentioned, we expanded Tank Encyclopedia a great deal in 2018, and we are hoping to offer even more this coming year. As always, we thank you for your support in our endeavors, and we would be honored to have you with us for the coming year as we continue to explore armored vehicle history. Alright, moving on to what we dug up in the archives. For this episode, we would like to present the tank driving manual provided to American tankers during the interwar period. This manual was initially produced in 1925, while American armor was still very much in its infancy. While American tank operators participated in World War I, American-built tanks did not make it to the conflict in time to see any action. Because of this, American tactics and training were still adapting to this new aspect of warfare throughout the 1920s, and this manual provides a little insight into how that was progressing. One interesting feature in this manual is that some parts are specifically directed at either light or heavy tanks, as they each handle differently, and they could each tolerate different hardships while driving. This manual also reflects the difficulty of communicating while in a tank of this era. One section suggests that the driver and commander practice communicating speed and direction by touch in a classroom while the driver is blindfolded, to simulate the fact that commands are applied to the driver's back due to a lack of communication devices within the tank. The manual also describes which obstacles should not be run over in a tank and which ones could be managed through careful driving. Overall, this short read allows us to compare and contrast just how much tank operation has changed over the years, and in some ways, how it hasn't changed very much at all. For this week's book review, we'll be covering the book American Tanks and AFVs of World War II by Michael Green. This book breaks down the different vehicles used by American forces in World War II by type, covering not only light and heavy tanks, but also tank destroyers, armored cars, self-propelled artillery, and half-tracks. Each section is set up in chronological order, allowing the reader to learn about the development of each class of vehicle as they progress through the interwar and World War II period. This information is supplemented by period photographs, as well as photos of examples located at museums and collections today, and these photos are generally large and of great quality. While it might not provide quite as much information as a dedicated specialty book focusing on one specific vehicle, it strikes a very nice balance between a highly informative text and a visual picture book. Overall, readers would not go wrong with this book as a first point of research and learning, as well as a source of good visual representations of many vehicles developed and used by the United States during this period. Since we're a little behind on announcing our new articles, I would like to assure everyone that the staff at Tank Encyclopedia kept very busy throughout the holidays, and continued to publish a multitude of articles. The first article to mention is the Panzer III Flamme. This flamethrower variant of the Panzer III came on the heels of previous flamethrower tank developments based on the Panzer I and II chassis. However, for both of these earlier variants, their service was brief due to evolving technology that made them less effective in combat. The Panzer III was the next logical step in this progression, as it provided the German crews with a tank that was not only faster and had thicker armor, but it was also more reliable. 100 of these Flammpanzer III Ost-Ms were produced in 1943, and were put into service with existing panzer divisions. Carrying 1,020 liters of fuel, they were able to spray a stream of fire out to about 60 meters. Due to a gunner and loader being unnecessary, these modified Panzer IIIs only had a crew of 3, and were equipped with extra armor and fire extinguishers for obvious reasons. These tanks fought in Italy and on the Eastern Front, with mixed results depending on the combat environment. Due to the limited range of the weapon, open fields reduced their effectiveness, and eventually many were relegated to guard duty. Of the 100 produced, there is one modern survivor in running condition in Koblenz. This article was written by Mark Nash and illustrated by Andrei Oktoten-Krushkin, with funds from our Patreon. Another article that was published recently is about the Modra Revolving Light Tank. This downright odd vehicle was a design submission to the Australian Army Inventions Directorate, and simply put, resembles an egg on tracks with a gun. One of several ideas designed by a gardener by the name of William Frederick Modra. This tank schematic was developed on the idea that incoming fire would be more easily deflected if the entire tank was a rounded surface. It was also designed with uniform protection in mind, as the armor is the same thickness the entire way around the disc. This would mean that no matter what direction the tank was being shot at from, it wouldn't produce an obvious weak flank to exploit. Unfortunately, poor ground clearance would prohibit obstacle crossing, which caused this proposal to be rejected. Of course, the crew of one, the lack of any means for the crew to enter or exit the vehicle, and the lack of secondary armament did not help its odds. This article was written by Andrew Hills and illustrated by C. Ryan, with funds from our Patreon campaign. Other articles that were produced over the past few weeks include, but are not limited to, the Blindato Schneider Brilla, the Skoda T25, the Renault FT in Dutch service, the deployable Universal Combat Earth Mover M105 Deuce, the Belvoir M113 Electric Land Drive Demonstration Vehicle, or ELDDV, and the Carro de Combate de Infanteria Tipo 1937. That's all for this report. Make sure to follow our website. We'll be releasing new articles on the regular. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Reddit. If you use Discord, there's a link to our community server in the description. And if you would like to help us to continue to develop and expand into the new year, consider donating on Patreon. All of the funds will be used to help us enhance and design new articles and features for you. I'm Nathaniel, and until next time, keep us in your sights.